In the Red Sea, things remain tense. Major shipping companies are avoiding this route, oil prices are shooting up, and governments are spooked. But there seems to be one exception: Russia. Reports say Russian tankers are not rerouting. They're still sailing the Red Sea. Most of these ships are carrying crude oil. Take a look at their route. Start off from the Black Sea, enter the Mediterranean, cross the Suez Canal, sail through the Red Sea into the Indian Ocean, and finally reach the ports of India and China. I guess the question is, how? Almost a dozen ships have been attacked in the same region. Many more have rerouted their vessels. So how is Russia immune? Well, for a number of reasons. Number one, the close ties between Russia and Iran. Iran is godfather to Yemen's Houthi rebels. So maybe Tehran told them to avoid Russian ships. Plus, there is ideological symmetry. Russia wants Israel to stop the war in Gaza. It also hosted Hamas leaders in October last year, so Houthis don't have a beef with Putin. That's reason number one. Number two is the shadow fleet. Russia doesn't use Western ships or tankers. They can't after the sanctions. Instead, Moscow uses a shadow fleet. Old tankers bought mostly after 2022. They're slow, they're hard to maintain, but the upside is there is no Israeli link. The Houthis say they will only attack two kinds of ships: those heading to Israel and those linked to Israel. These shadow tankers do not fit the bill. Maybe that's why Russia is immune. And finally, reason number three, maybe Russia doesn't have an option. I'll explain why I say this. The Suez Canal makes up 10% of crude oil flows, and Russia dominates this trade. In 2021, they made up 30% of southbound oil traffic. Basically, shipments from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. Russia made up 30% of this. By 2022, it was 74%. So the Red Sea is very important, a very important route for Russia. Their oil shipments to India and China take this route. Just one problem, though. That trade is slowing down. India's Russian oil imports are at an 11-month low. The discounts are drying up. The payment system is complicated, so India is looking elsewhere. For example, Saudi Arabia. India's imports from Russia fell by 16 to 22%, but the imports from Saudi Arabia increased by 4%. And that's bad news for Russia, because India and China consume 90% of Russia's oil exports, so virtually all of it. If they start shifting away, Russia will lose out. So it's all about offering a great price. And you can't do that without the Suez Canal. It takes around 27 days to sail from Russia to India. If you sail around Africa, it will take 44 days, 27 to 44. That's a 63% increase in shipping time. And more time equals more cost. The same logic also applies to China. If Russian oil becomes expensive, China will look elsewhere. And the obvious candidates will be Gulf nations, the likes of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iraq. They have ports on the Persian Gulf, meaning these countries don't need the Red Sea to access Asia, which means Russia has no option. They need the Red Sea to maintain the price advantage. It's a risky gamble, though. Just look at what happened last month. An oil tanker was sailing from Russia to India. It was hit by 2 Houthi missiles. The tanker was called the MV Sai Baba. It was a Gabon-flagged ship. Do you see the problem here? Not every tanker can be a shadow vessel. Plus, if the Houthis get desperate, all bets are off. They're already striking at random. There is no guarantee that Russian ships will be safe. So frankly, it's not a strategic call. It seems to be a risky political and financial gamble. The question is, will it pay off?